Right now. Not last week, not last month. Right now. There are warships from 3 of the most powerful nations on Earth circling the same patch of water near the Strait of Hormuz. Russian warships, Chinese warships, Iranian warships, and on the other side of that water, 2 American aircraft carrier strike groups, dozens of destroyers, submarines nobody's talking about, F-35s within striking range of Tehran, and sitting in the Oval Office, a president who has not yet decided whether to push the button. This is the moment. This is the week. And most people have absolutely no idea how close we actually are. Stay with me, because by the end of this video, you're going to understand exactly what's happening, why it matters, and what comes next. Let's rewind just a little, not years, just months, so you understand how we got here. Last summer, June 2025, Israel launched what became known as the 12-day war against Iran. Israel struck Iranian military infrastructure. Iran fired back. And then, in a move that shocked the world, the United States joined in. American bombers hit 3 of Iran's main nuclear sites, Isfahan, Natanz, and Fordo, in an operation the Pentagon called Operation Midnight Hammer. Trump stood at the podium and declared those facilities had been totally obliterated. But here's the thing about totally obliterated. It turns out it wasn't quite that simple. Iran's nuclear program wasn't erased. It was damaged, wounded, and wounded animals don't lie down. They dig in. Fast forward to January 2026. Trump returned to office with maximum pressure back on the table. He dispatched his envoy Steve Witkoff to Oman, then Geneva. Indirect talks. Note passing through intermediaries because the 2 sides won't even sit in the same room. The White House said it was going well. Iran said it was a good first step. And behind closed doors, the CIA was briefing that Tehran was stalling, buying time, not to negotiate, but to rebuild. And that brings us to this week, because everything just escalated at once. Let's talk about the hardware first, because the military buildup happening right now is unlike anything we've seen since the Iraq War. In January, the USS Abraham Lincoln arrived in the Persian Gulf. This isn't just any ship. The Lincoln carries Carrier Air Wing 9, that's F-35Cs, F/A-18 Super Hornets, EA-18G Growlers for electronic warfare, E-2D Hawkeyes for aerial command and control. Its escort group includes 3 Arleigh Burke-class destroyers, each one loaded with Tomahawk cruise missiles that have a range of over 1,000 miles and pack a 1,000-pound warhead. There are also unspecified submarines operating with the group. Submarines that no one announces, no one tracks, and no one sees until they want to be seen. On February 3rd, one of the Lincoln's F-35s shot down an Iranian drone that came too close to the carrier in the Arabian Sea. That wasn't an accident. That was Iran testing the perimeter, probing, feeling out the rules of engagement. But then came the escalation that changed the entire calculus. On February 13th, the Pentagon ordered the USS Gerald R. Ford, America's most advanced aircraft carrier, to leave the Caribbean and head to the Middle East. The Ford had been in the Caribbean as part of Trump's Venezuela operation, which ended in January with the capture of Venezuelan President Nicolas Maduro. The crew thought they were going home. Instead, they got a new set of orders. Think about what it means to send the Gerald R. Ford. This ship carries more than 75 aircraft. It has a nuclear reactor. It represents decades of American naval engineering. It is, by any measure, the most lethal floating object ever built. And Trump deployed it, even as a Navy warning circulated internally that the ship needed scheduled maintenance. As of today, the Ford is expected to arrive in the region this weekend, joining the Lincoln, the destroyers, the submarines, and the jets that are already there. The US also repositioned Air Force refueling tankers and fighter jets from bases in the United Kingdom, moving them closer to the Middle East. That matters because refueling tankers are what you need for long-range strikes. You don't move refueling tankers to pressure someone diplomatically. You move refueling tankers because you're planning to fly planes very far, for a very long time. More than 30,000 American troops are currently deployed across 18 military bases in the Middle East, in Bahrain, Egypt, Iraq, Israel, Jordan, Kuwait, Qatar, Saudi Arabia, Syria, and the UAE Patriot and THAAD missile defense systems have been repositioned to defend against Iranian ballistic missiles and drones. This isn't a pressure campaign, this is a war posture. Now here's where it gets really interesting and really alarming. While all of this American hardware was moving into position, Iran wasn't sitting still. They were doing something that tells you everything about what Tehran actually believes is coming. They were burying their nuclear sites. Satellite imagery analyzed by the Institute for Science and International Security, one of the world's foremost nuclear watchdog organizations, shows Iran racing to harden and conceal its most sensitive facilities in ways that have never been seen before. At the Parchin military complex, located about 30 kilometers southeast of Tehran, satellites captured something extraordinary. The facility known as Talagen 2, believed by Western intelligence to be linked to weapons-related research, has been encased in a thick concrete shell and then buried under layers of soil. Experts are calling it a concrete sarcophagus. The ISIS founder, David Albright, wrote publicly that the facility has already been buried so deep that it may soon become a fully unrecognizable bunker, providing significant protection from aerial strikes. Read that again. They're not just rebuilding. They're making it so you can't find it from the air. At Isfahan, one of the sites that American bombers actually struck last summer, Iran has been burying tunnel entrances. Satellite images from late January showed 2 tunnel entrances being filled with soil. By February 9th, a 3rd entrance had been backfilled. All 3 are now completely sealed, underground, gone from aerial view. Similar work has been happening near Natanz, Iran's other major enrichment site. Tunnel portals under a mountain near the facility are being reinforced with poured concrete. Anti-aircraft artillery positions have been reactivated around Parchin. New defensive emplacements have been added. And Iran has rebuilt the missile bases that Israel and the US destroyed last summer. The Shiraz South Missile Base, one of 25 primary sites capable of launching medium-range ballistic missiles, was documented before and after the war. Last July, it was in ruins. By the end of January 2026, reconstruction and clearance work was clearly visible from space. Iran's message is unmistakable. You hit us once. We got back up. Try again, and see what happens. Now here's the piece of the story that most channels aren't fully connecting, because it's not just the United States and Iran facing off. 2 other nuclear-armed superpowers just made a very deliberate move into the equation. Today, February 19, 2026, Russian and Iranian naval forces conducted joint military exercises in the Sea of Oman and the northern Indian Ocean. The operation is called Maritime Security Belt 2026. A Russian corvette, the Stoiky, docked at Bandar Abbas, Iran's primary strategic naval base at the entrance to the Strait of Hormuz, on Wednesday. They held a comprehensive planning session together. Then they deployed into the sea for live exercises, tactical formations, flag communications, data transfers between operations rooms, and, here's the part worth noticing, special operations teams from both countries conducted rappelling exercises onto each other's ships. That's not a routine exercise. That is a demonstration of deep military integration. These forces know how to work together. But it gets bigger. Iran, Russia, and China are planning joint naval exercises under the Maritime Security Belt 2026 framework in the Strait of Hormuz, one of the single most important choke points in the world. An estimated 20% of global oil trade passes through the Strait of Hormuz. Closing it, even temporarily, would send oil prices through the roof and send shockwaves through the global economy. Russia's Security Council Secretary Patrushev put it bluntly, stating that the Maritime Security Belt exercises in the Strait of Hormuz proved to be relevant. That's diplomatic language for "we're here, we're watching, and this is a warning." The Russian naval commander at the exercises, Captain Alexei Sergeyev, stated openly that Russia is ready to conduct joint exercises in any region, including anti-maritime terrorism operation Dastir alongside Iranian forces. Now think about what this means in practice. The USS Gerald R Ford is steaming toward the Strait of Hormuz this weekend, and in that same body of water, there are now Russian and Chinese warships. Experts have warned directly about the risk of unintended escalation, the terrifying scenario where a miscommunication, a misread signal, a drone shot down near the wrong ship triggers a confrontation that nobody actually wanted. In modern warfare, accidents start wars. The Black Sea, the South China Sea. History is full of near misses. The Strait of Hormuz is now the most dangerous 21 miles of water on Earth. This is one of those moments where history is being made in real time. If you made it this far, you understand the full picture now. The carriers, the buried bunkers, the Russian and Chinese warships in the strait, the Geneva talks that went nowhere, and a president who has not yet decided. The next 72 hours matter. Subscribe if you haven't. Stay informed. See you next video.